Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. We are seeing some crazy movement to start the week. Basically, every stock is down. We have cryptocurrencies down big. Everything is down today. Apple, Microsoft, you name it, it's probably in the red this morning. So we just want to thank everyone so much for joining. If you have any specific stocks, let us know. We can see Tom taking a look at Bitcoin here. It's all the way down to below $44,000 a coin. It's really selling off. And welcome Jamie, Santiago, Info, Jason, Maine, Gabriel, X, Alex, J-Trade, David. Thank you guys so much for joining today, Jorge. Tom, what are some of the top stocks on your radar heading into this week?
I was really eyeing up some stocks like CHPT, BLNK, Plug, and just a few of these EV charging stocks that are right at support. But man, with the way the market broke down this morning, these stocks are also gapping down. So if they keep going down, we can pick up shares a little bit lower, but it's just pretty worrisome. The overall market's kind of falling today. I'll definitely have my eyes on VXX and UVXY. I feel like they're going to be doing pretty well. And we can see VXX is doing awesome in pre-market, gapping up from 27 at close on Friday up to 29.47 here in pre-market. And, while the market might go back to the upside here at open, like with the SPY, I still feel like that there's a lot of potential for the VXX to keep going up maybe later on in the week or something. But man, the market just got killed. I don't know what happened last night or what happened over the weekend, Mike, but man, the market did not digest anything very well.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of rising fears with everything that's going on with China and Evergrande and their defaults and all that stuff. On top of that, as we've been saying for the past, I guess you could say, couple weeks now, really we're just looking at investors de-risking themselves, so it's just a combination of a lot of different things. And keep in mind that when we're starting to see the market fall, when more and more sellers come in, it'll just make the sell-off even more drastic. So just keep that in mind heading into the market. So far today, it looks like I have one green stock on my watch list, which is Delta Airlines. But besides that, we have a ton of stocks in the red. Redfin's down over 5%. It's getting smacked. Tesla down 3%. AMD down 3%. Apple down 1.5. So lots of selling pressure coming into today. Tom, what are some main levels to look for on the SPY? I know that a lot of people look at that one as the overall market. So what should we watch?
I was really watching 440 at the end of the week last week, but last night, I don't know what happened. The market just got destroyed and the SPY just got killed ever since that futures market opened up. For today, I'm definitely going to look for that low of pre-market at 433.48. That's going to be a very big level. Looking at the 90-day, 15-minute, if we start to go back in time a little bit, you can see there's some pretty big supports down here right around I would say resistances now at 437.50. So if we do see the SPY pop up, I would say look for 437 to 437.50 to the upside. And if we go to the downside, I could really see 430 even being a pretty big support. Looks like we hit off of that a few times in the past too. And in order to find that, I did have to go back quite a ways because the SPY is actually falling down it's actually falling down quite a bit today. It's actually moving down at a pretty rapid rate, and we're actually giving up a lot of the gains that we made the past few weeks.
Good stuff. So welcome Sean, Bill, Vicky, Keisha, and Justin to the stream. It's great to have you guys join. Tom, I'm really watching KRE to the downside. I feel like this one has a ton of potential to fall more. It's basically just like a bank ETF, and there's just a lot of bank stocks struggling right now. So that's just one stock I'm really watching.
Yeah, I know you've been eyeing this one up for a while too, over the past few weeks while it was up here around $65. And you're right, it's really breaking those supports. It broke $63 this morning and just had a straight gap to the downside. So that's good to see. And hopefully it keeps going down. I know you've been eyeing up puts on them for a while. And look at that daily chart, actually moving really good off the technicals. It's kind of double topping there right at the 100 SMA. Honestly, just looks really good, Mike. Good call out here. And I feel like that could definitely happen. We saw those banks start to really sell off last week. And just like we're seeing this morning, more sell off continuing into the market. And look at Bank of America finally breaking this long-term trend line to the downside.
For sure. And then Keisha said SDC is green. So what are you thinking with that one?
This one actually looks like it has a lot of momentum. I know a lot of people talked about this one last week, and it's caught some green here at open. I feel like there is some potential for this one to pop up maybe later today. It's back up through $7, and it held like it fell through seven a little bit this morning, but ended up holding $7 overall, having a nice move back. And I feel like there could be a lot of momentum here, Mike. It's nice to see this one kind of gapping up with the overall market capping down.
For sure. And then what sucks with this crazy sell-off from over the weekend is Palantir. It just like killed that momentum with it. It was doing so well, and talk about just like a complete like 180.
Yeah, look at Palantir. That's terrible to see. Down back through that 2750 resistance level, or I should say support now, but man, it's just hovering right around there. We last time we broke 2750 last week, we had a very nice run all the way up to like 2930. Had a great run, and like you said, that momentum just got killed today with the overall market going down, and all these growth stocks that were rising, they all are almost down today, like PLTR, CHPT, RUN, Plug. It's like all the growth stocks for some reason just seem to be getting killed, but hopefully they can hold this 2750 area. I think if we hold that, it could end up doing pretty well. And Palantir had a lot of momentum last week and started to break out, so maybe we'll just test support and then go back up again later this week. I would really like to see a test of 30 at some time.
All right, and then Tom, check out UPST. I know that we've been talking about this one for what seems like months now. I wonder if we are finally going to see a pullback. It's been straight up forever.
Man, I hope so. We finally have a gap down on the chart. We haven't really had one on UPST in a long time. I feel like this could be the start. We just fell back below the $300 huge psychological level there. And I feel like that we could definitely keep going. I see a big support down here around 260, and we're at like 289 right now. This stock actually went up at a very rapid rate, broke through $200 and ran straight up to 300. I could really see a pullback, like I said, down to 260. And that's not even that significant for a stock like UPST. I would think if we started to get a huge fall, we might fall even below like 250 or something like that. And Mike, I actually just saw BABA actually just broke its low of day and is getting killed right now. I don't know if that China news is playing a part, but man, they just keep going lower and lower.
Definitely keep that one on your radar. So yeah, good stuff overall. I know Keisha was saying SDC is green, and we covered that one, but implied volatility shooting through the roof on that. Looking at like a couple different stocks right now, basically everything on my watch list is in the red. Palantir down the most, around 5.5%. This should be a good opportunity for some short put options, but besides that, Tom, basically everything in the market is red, and the opening so far wasn't like too bad. We're starting to see some buyers at least come back in on the SPY.
Yeah, it looks like it's popping up a little, and we really held that 434 bottom level. And look at the way we bounced there at open. I'm actually going to throw a nice little trend line down there at 434 because I feel like that's going to be a pretty big support level for us for the rest of the day today and possibly for the next few days. But looking at the SPY, I actually like the way it's coming back today, Mike. And with the way we gap down, I feel like if we could pass back through 436 to the upside, I think we might get a decent little pop out of the SPY, maybe back up to 438. Now, I'm not saying we're going to totally recover and the SPY is going to turn green or anything, but with the way we gap down, I could see a little bit of recovery now that the market is open, and then maybe another fall like later today or tomorrow. But one thing to keep in mind, guys, is that the FOMC meetings are this week. So Powell will be having that press conference on Wednesday, and that's definitely going to be affecting the market. And then there's also a bunch of data coming out towards the end of the week as well. So it's going to be a pretty action-packed week, I think. There's definitely a lot of factors going on, and I have a weird feeling that FOMC meeting might really move the markets this time, Mike. Like last time it moved the markets a lot, and they didn't even change anything. So if they talk about any changes at all, I could really see a big swing in either direction, honestly.
All right, and then we have Mike saying, good morning, everyone, or at least try to. Not looking good. Yeah, I know what you mean, Mike. The market's taken a beating. It's been a while since we've seen movement like this. Basically, for the past, I guess you could say almost 2 years now, it's just been like a straight ride up, and it's definitely pretty rough seeing a market like this. But that's why it's important to have hedges in place, whether covered calls, puts. You could trade like high negative beta stocks, like the video from Saturday. So hedges are definitely very important. And then we have Maine saying, I know everything is selling off, but GM is terrible. So great point, Maine. I was actually looking at this one too, to the upside actually. But yeah, it's looking pretty rough right now, and they were looking so good last week. And man, just talk about like erasing, like one day erased GM's like whole week's worth of gains from last week.
Yeah, it really did. They were starting to pop up above that $50 resistance level, and they were actually doing pretty well. And then, like you said, just got totally destroyed with this gap to the downside. Definitely not good. And, I'm more with you, Mike. I'm definitely eyeing up GM and Ford for like a longer term play. They both have been moving pretty similar. I would expect Ford to gap down too. And yeah, it looks like they gap down a little bit as well. I don't know, Mike. As I'm seeing GM here start to fall, if we end up breaking the support right around like 47, I don't know. I might have to kind of target this $40 longer term support right here. The $40 level is honestly huge. We've bounced off of it a ton. Now, the overall market's going to have to pull back quite a bit, I think, for that to happen. But man, I could possibly see it. It's just a big support down there. And honestly, it wouldn't be too bad of a loss compared to how much we've went up since COVID.
We shall see. All right, and then we have Nye saying, I will puts for C for the end of this week will be good. So let's take a look. Well, if it's a day trade, then you only want to hold it for a day. But I do like this setup on C to the downside. But I really would not recommend that end of week expiration, because even if you predict the direction correctly, like the time decay will just be disastrous. So I like the setup, but like bare minimum, you'll probably want like the October 15th expiration, like bare minimum. Like more like realistically, you'll probably want November 19th. But I like the setup, but at the end of the day, like even if you have an amazing setup, you have to make sure that you also have a high quality option, so the odds are like in your favor when you're playing it. Because when you mess around with these weeklies, it could get pretty crazy to say the least.
Yeah, and you might be able to trade a weekly for a few minutes. Like if you were getting into a quick day trade to the downside or something very, very fast, it could work out. I see people do that, but I'm with Mike. If you're gonna hold that to Friday and it expires this week, I mean, the chances of that one working out are really, really low. Like Mike said, that time decay, whenever you get really close to expiration, just gets very, very drastic. So be really careful with it. But, I could see C's stock going down by the end of the week, but I'm with Mike. I would definitely grab like a November or the end of October type of expiration.
All right. And then we have Alex saying, poor Palantir. I know, it's been really rough. They were looking so good, and then just to have this day, it's like a slap in the face. But hey, it'll probably come back over the long term, which is good. And yeah, I'm just looking at a couple different things right now. It looks like Microsoft is attempting to come back up. They're having a good amount of buyers come in since open, and they're actually getting really close to their close from Friday.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big pop back, and they're filling their gap, actually. That's a good call, Mike. It's a big recovery, and I wonder if that's bringing the SPY back up. I'm sure it is a little bit. Yep, looks like the SPY is following along there, but you're right. That's a great recovery, and I'll tell you what, Microsoft looks like it's kind of bouncing off this 296 support, and it did kind of bounce off of that last week and go up after that as well. So maybe 296 is just going to be a pretty big support for them, but I think it's going to be pretty hard for them to get back up through that $300 level, Mike. I have a weird feeling that might be a pretty big psychological level for a lot of traders today.
We shall see. All right, so let us know what stocks you guys are watching. We are seeing a lot of action in the market today. One other stock I wanted to highlight really quickly is Boeing. I really like it for the long term, and especially at these levels, I feel like it's a pretty solid play.
Yeah, man. And the only negative is that we finally fell below that 210 support, which has been holding up forever. And, I don't know about you, Mike, but would you recommend averaging into Boeing and just average in on the way down? That way, like let's say we're at 209 right now. If Boeing did go down, let's say you're averaged in, you might be able to get averaged in to like 190 or something if it keeps falling. But man, I don't know. It started to break this long-term trend, and we're finally seeing a move below support. And I don't know. I personally, I can kind of see Boeing going down over the next like week or two, but I'm with you, Mike. I love them for the long term. I love their jets and stuff, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere by any means. So I just think I could see them pulling back for maybe the next few days, but I love them for the long term, and I love that 200 support.
Good stuff. So Shelly said, good morning. SPY puts today with the question mark. So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to hedge, yeah, that can definitely be a great hedge. In terms of a day trade, yes, it's also another possibility. Just one thing I really, really want to stress is the quality of the option you are selecting. Like you probably don't want to select like a weekly option. But if you do, you don't want to be in it for too long. So let's say you're just day trading, then it's okay to get a weekly put for example. But you don't want to buy like the 410 strike put because it only costs $50. Like it'd be a lot better to get at the money because then you have a much better option. So yeah, it's definitely a possible play, Shelly. Just really make sure you get a quality option. And to do that, you either want more time or you want to get closer to the money, if not both. So thank you so much for joining, Shelly. Keisha said, shockingly, I'm up 24% in my Zoom option. There we go. So it looks pretty good. Keisha said, Zoom call options, thought it would be dead with the market this morning. So yeah, it looks like it's not going down without a fight.
Yeah, it's really not. Zoom's they had that terrible gap down off that bad earnings, and then that kind of like bad outlook there. And man, they're right on support. There's a big support at 275. We've been bouncing off of that and getting a lot of green actually out of Zoom. So, and they actually almost have a full recovery going on. They're almost to the close of Friday. So I could see Zoom possibly getting a pop back, and look at them on the daily. They're really enticing to grab some shares right now or to even sell puts. And man, that implied volatility isn't the highest in the world, but I tell you what, selling puts right now, I think is a great idea for Zoom, especially if you could get like the 270 strike or anywhere under 275. I think you're getting a steal.
There we go. Alrighty. So Tom, like, what are you seeing in the market right now? What stocks are you watching? Like, I know that we were talking about a couple different setups to watch, like plug, but it gapped down, but now it's running up. So like, what's on your radar?
Yeah, definitely still keeping these ones on there. And I'm hoping that they hold their levels and then recover back. Because like I said before, they're right at those supports on the daily chart. And I think it's just a great opportunity right now for these stocks. People love the EV sector. And you should, if you love the EV sector, EV charging is definitely going to be a big part of society. So CHPT, Plug, RUN, all those companies are awesome, I think. And they're right on supports. Great pickups. I'm also eyeing up a lot of these marijuana stocks, believe it or not. You can go look at ACB, Tilray. They're all actually getting destroyed right now. And Tilray especially down 5%. But I think they're pretty good pickups for the long term for shares. It's going to be super, super risky. But as they get lower and lower, it's just going to be, the deals are going to get better and better. So just look at it. If you like marijuana for the long term, at least they're down by support. So, you can get in a little bit lower rather than buying up around $20 or something. But I'm definitely eyeing those up. But I'm also really eyeing up crude oil. They had such a week last week. And usually if the overall market goes down, crude oil ends up falling down too. And I'll really be eyeing that up. Crude oil's really recovered today since open, kind of like the S&P also. So definitely eye up those companies. I think that crude oil companies could end up falling down if the overall market goes down with it.
Alrighty. And then one other stock I wanted to look at was good old AMC. So how's that one doing?
Yeah, hey, it actually is recovering up a little, but it had a bad gap down just like everything else. But ever since open, it had a good double bottom at $40.50. And it's actually been recovering back up very nicely, Mike. And it came right back up. And I did not think it would break 42.50, but we ended up breaking that back to the upside. And looks like we're heading back up towards that $44 resistance.
Good stuff. And then, looking at a couple different meme stocks, I know we talked about this a little bit in yesterday's video, like BBIG. That one's doing decent. Clove is doing decent. IRNT is selling off pretty hard, down like 9%. OPAD is also selling off pretty hard. And like I said, I know we talked about this in yesterday's video, but it seems like with Wall Street bets nowadays, there's a new pump every day. Where you could go back a couple months ago or even a year ago, it was just like only a couple stocks, but now there's like 10.
Yeah, for real, and that really dampens the amount of volume, and it just creates. It really makes the frenzy not as good as it could be. Like whenever everything first started happening, it was awesome. Everybody jumped into GameStop, everybody jumped into AMC. But you're right. Now it's just like tons of different stocks. And I don't know, it's kind of it puts a little bit of a damper on the situation. Like, of course you can pump, a few stocks in a given day, but I don't know. I'd rather see a huge gain like AMC or GME. I think those were awesome. And it all started like that week whenever Wendy's started going, Mike. Remember WEN? That 1 week, Wendy's had that big gap up, and then a whole bunch of other stocks. People started to try to find the next short squeeze. And I think that's the main thing right now. People are just out there looking for the next GameStop and the next AMC rather than just looking more at the overall market objectively. They're all just looking for those next ones. And it's very unfortunate because everybody's like jumping into different ones whenever in reality, the whole point of that GameStop stuff was everyone getting into the same one to screw those shorts.
True, true. And then, Tom, let's take a look at AAL real quick. American Airlines is booming up. They're up around 2.5% today, which is pretty big, especially for a day like today. On the news, I'm seeing that they're investing $100 million to accelerate clean energy technologies as anchor partner to Breakthrough Energy Catalyst. So, long story short, they're investing in clean energy, and the stock's popping off.
Yeah, that's awesome. And remember, we saw that news with, I think, Delta or somebody else last week. They were kind of talking about developing some clean aviation fuel.
I think
Remember
it was
that?
Chevron and Gevo.
Chevron and Gevo, yeah, but they were talking about some new clean aviation fuel. It just seems like that whole sector is it seems like that could be a really good deal if they start to try to get into this cleaning up there. I know that airplanes have a lot of pollutants and stuff, so anything to help the pollution could be good for the airlines. And who knows, that might get them some tax breaks and stuff. I know Tesla gets huge tax breaks and stuff since they're an electric vehicle company. And if these guys could stop their pollutants, you would think that they would get some type of break or forgiveness in some way. But man, the daily chart looks great on American Airlines, Mike. I think this is an awesome pickup right now for shares, right around $20, even selling puts on it. And this could even be cheap. This is awesome for small accounts to sell puts on too, because if you're selling a $20 or the $20 strike, it's only going to cost you around $2,000 right now to do that, and you might get paid. I haven't looked at the premiums yet, but I bet they're pretty decent given that the stock's only $2,000. And I'll just say it's right on support, and a lot of people love these airlines, and I just think it's a great pickup right now.
Indeed. All right, and then we have, let's see, Vicky saying MR, A and AFRM and Dash are strong. So yeah, lots of strong movement out of those ones, especially like over the past couple months. So looking pretty good there. DASH is up a little bit today, and it's on an awesome uptrend, which is great to see. Looks like the all-time high is right around like 256 or so. So looks good. And then we have Maine saying you should never say put or down near UPST. It's trying so hard to get back up. I mean, this stock reminds me of Target so much. Like, it'll just go straight up and up and up, and then when you think it's going to fall, it just goes up more, and then you think it's going to fall this time, and it just keeps going up.
Yeah, every single time. And, we're going to definitely keep eyeing it up, though. And at some point, once we finally see the trend change, it might be a good play. But for right now, it's in that target state. We have to almost just call it like a target or like what was another one, Mike, like Moderna for a while. Like they just weren't stopping. And UPST is definitely the same way. But if it fails to break 300 over the next couple of days, I think I'll definitely be eyeing it up. And, if you get some puts that have some time to them, you can do decent with it. The main thing that I'm seeing is that everyone's playing weeklies on it. So, of course, if you buy a weekly put and then now the stock flies up this morning, of course, you're going to lose. But let's say I buy a put now that expires in like December or maybe even January, and this stock falls down to like 250 or even lower by then. I feel like that could end up being a decent way to go on this as well.
True, true. Tom, you can't forget about Home Depot. Remember when they were just booming?
Yeah, look at this. Look at them on the daily. They finally broke out up above 300, and you could just see it. They just kept going slow and steady all the way up, and they had some red days and some consolidation mixed in where they were looking like they were going to fall, but until that big initial drop, nothing happened. So I think with Upstart, it's just a waiting game, and we just have to wait and see until we finally get a couple good red days kind of come into the stock.
All righty. Okay, and then we have, let's see. We have Spacely saying ZIVO. So I've never heard of this one, but let's take a look. ZIVO looks like they're up 166% today. It's booming up. Looks like was a penny stock. So it looks like they had some I'm seeing a headline right now that they filed for $125 million shelf. So I don't know. I have not been following this one, but either way, it has a ton of momentum. And then we have Keisha saying TMC on the move. I know this one has a lot of hype from like Wall Street Bets. How's it looking?
Yeah, TMC. I mean, it had a bad past couple days, but this morning it is holding its ground. It's holding this $9.70 level pretty well. And we popped back up through 10. So it doesn't look terrible on TMC. But I'm more of a, I'm just going to be really skeptical with this one. It had a great couple days there and a great pre-market that one day, but I don't know, unless I see a huge move back up through like $11 or something, I don't think I'm going to play this one. It got killed the past couple days, and I could see it consolidating a little bit more. But man, if Wall Street Bets is hyping it, if a lot of people start jumping in, I feel like it could be a really good way to go. But like we keep talking about, Mike, some people are in TMC, some people are in Givo, some people are going to be into Wendy's or something. So, there's just all these different hype stocks, and hopefully TMC can get some good momentum going, and hopefully everybody jumps in so it starts flying up even more. But man, it's just it's very hard to trade these type of meme stocks, Mike. It just I don't know. Personally, I don't play them too much on a personal level. I don't know about you, but they're just I might play AMC every once in a while, but most of the time these stocks are all just, I hate to say it, but they're more of like pump and dumps lately.
Yeah, I don't really trade them too much unless like they go crazy. Maybe I'll like do like sell some call credit spreads or something like that. But besides that, I like to stay away from them. And then we have Miles saying thoughts on Tesla. So Tesla was looking really good actually until today. Like they were on like a nice uptrend. They broke above 750. They were holding their ground. Looks like they were getting ready to test 800, and then boom, like a horrible reversal today. So honestly, in my opinion, it's not looking the best.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And once again, I hate to say it, for the 10th time in the past month, we hit this blue trend line again, straight back to the downside. And it's unfortunate for Tesla. I was really hoping for a nice break up through there. And like you said, maybe up towards $800 or even higher. But man, it just got rejected, ended up going back down. And I'll be honest, like you said, Mike, the setup ever since open just doesn't look good. It just keeps sliding off, and it fell through that 740 support, and I could see it maybe going back down and retesting 700 at some time this week. And I hate to say that because I love Tesla. I love their company. I think they'll do great in the long term, but for the next year or maybe for the next 6 months, I could just see a little bit more consolidation. And the main thing is that if we see the S&P 500 start to really come down even more from all-time highs, like let's say the SPY ends up coming down and retesting like 415 or 400 over the next few months, stocks like Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple are going to tank down pretty hard. And I could see Tesla maybe kidding like maybe $600 or something if something like that happens. And just keep in mind, like people like Burry, I'd be really interested to see if he's still in these shorts, but I would say given how he was still in them last time, he's probably still in these shorts and just waiting for the overall market to fall more than waiting for Tesla to fall.
True. All right, and then we have Maine saying Peloton is green. Let's take a look. PTON, it is in the green by, let's say, it was in the green. Now it's in the red. I feel like we're going to see that about with a lot of stocks so far today. So it was looking good, but not too much anymore. This one I really haven't been watching too much. There is a pretty big support right at 100, but besides that, I'm not watching it too much. But Tom, real quick, let's take a look at Facebook. They're breaking their low of day, and they just look terrible on this daily chart.
Yeah, it does. It actually looks terrible. I have so many support levels on my Facebook chart, but man, look at this. They're on their like long-term trend line now. It looks like they might break that down. And man, I'm with you, Mike. They consolidated a lot up there around that 380 upper resistance, and they've just been getting destroyed. I could really see the sell-off keep going down, and it's unfortunate, but these tech stocks were at all-time highs. So even though it's going down like right now, relative to the past year, it's still doing great. So overall, I still like I like Facebook, but the thing is it's definitely has that negative momentum, and I would really look for it to maybe break that 355 support to the downside. If we break that today or tomorrow, I feel like this sell-off could definitely get more accelerated.
All right. And then we have Keisha saying 210 is acting as a very strong support in Boeing. So yes, it is, and I really like it for the long term. And I'm sure that other institutions or hedge funds or other large buyers also see Boeing at these levels and say, hey, it's a good deal, and they're buying the dip. And I think that's I think that's pretty obvious to see just by looking at their chart. It's kept trying to fall below 210, but it seems like every time they like get around this area, they get bought right back up. So either way, it looks like a lot of buyers are stepping into me.
Yeah, they are, and they really bought the stock up. I think like later in the week we'll get more of a clear idea on what's going to happen because my whole thing is like if the overall market starts tanking, the chances of Boeing going down are also pretty high. But I agree though, I love the 210 support, and I feel like that we could definitely bounce right here. But I think later in the week, like if Powell gives us some pretty bad outlooks, or like if the FOMC meetings go pretty poorly, I think it could just make almost every stock fall. So that's just my main concern is just the overall market right now. It's such a scary time. There's all these catalysts and the inflation, and they might talk about tapering asset purchasing or something. So just really look at the catalyst. There's definitely a lot going on, but I really hope that these stocks hold supports because there's so many of them at these great buying levels that I really hope that they hold. But it's just so scary with the market the way it is.
All right, and then Mike said, is this a good time to buy more Palantir since the momentum going into today was strong? I would say so, but only if you're on a long-term plan. You can say I don't expect this thing to retest Friday's highs by let's say this Friday, but over the long term, I think this is at a pretty good level still, and I like it for selling puts and even averaging into shares.
Yeah, me too. I think that'll be definitely the way to go is to just average in as it starts to dip. And, I could maybe see it hitting like the 25 support or something like that over the next week or so. But I really hope that we hold these levels and keep going. Palantir had a great bounce here off the 1,000 SMA and off of the $27 support. So it seems like it's holding that level pretty well. And it honestly is recovering up pretty nicely. So hopefully those buyers come back into this one and buy it up, kind of like what we saw with like Microsoft earlier. Those buyers came in and kind of bought that way back up towards the closing of Friday. And I really hope the same thing happens to Palantir because I'd love to see Palantir get back up towards 28.50.
There we go. And then we have us saying, did the straddle pop already? So I'll take a look at that one. Let me just give me a couple minutes and I will look at it and I will definitely let you know. And then Sean said, how's Donkey Horse look for a day trade? So what are you thinking with Donkey Horse, Tom?
Honestly, it's coming back up pretty well, Mike. Looks pretty good. It's breaking this 840 resistance and running up pretty good. It did have that gap down just like everything else, but it looks like it's coming back decently. And on the daily chart, it is kind of by support like some of those other EV stocks. So I don't know. For me, it's a very hard to say. I think if you like it for the long term, I think it's an awesome price right now, around $8. Now, I don't think I'd be buying any, definitely wouldn't be buying any weekly options on this or any options that expire in like a month. I don't think it's a very risky stock. For me, it's more of just shares for the long term. I feel like they could end up doing well, especially given, like I said, they're in that EV sector, which people love. And I don't know, Mike, it's so hard to say. I would personally grab shares. How would you kind of play it?
I mean, I would sell some puts or maybe grab some shares, but that's about it right now. I was really, really liking the setup on it until that SEC news came out, and you could see it instantly just reverse the trend. It was looking so good, broke above $10, was going to $10.50, and that news hit, and ever since it's just been brutal. So I'm not really, I don't love it anymore, so if anything, I would average into shares, but more likely than not, sell some puts.
Yeah, that would make sense. Selling puts would probably be the way to go here. Just get paid those premiums, and if not, then you might just even if you get assigned, you might get assigned at like $7.50 or something awesome. So that could definitely be an awesome way to go. But man, I have a kind of crazy stock leading my watch list today, Mike, and it's actually Dominion Energy, believe it or not, up 0.49%. It's been a long time since we've mentioned D in the chat, but I know that we always get some fun with it, and hopefully Dominion keeps popping up today. I'm surprised to see him going up with the way crude oil's been moving.
Alrighty. So, the straddle did not pop, so we're still good on PG. So I hope that answers your question. And then we have Iranical saying Pfizer is flying in this market. So yeah, it's up around 0.4% or so. It's definitely doing a lot better than most stocks today, but not bad. And then we have Alex saying UPST is flying now. Let's take a look. Tom, are they going to go for their all-time high today? What's going on?
Man, they might, every single day this stock we can see in the past, it's dipped down and open and then just gets bought right back up. Same thing happened here. The buyers are really coming in. And honestly, I did not expect to get this close even, or I did not expect to get above $300. So looking at it rising up above there now, that momentum's crazy. And there is some more resistance up here right around like 305. So look out for that. But man, I'll be honest, with the way it came back, I would not be surprised if we were saying Upstart hit 310 or something within a couple hours. There's definitely some momentum here. And I feel like it could easily get back up to those all-time highs. Like every single day, this stock just keeps going up. So I could definitely see it. And like I said, I did not expect a recovery this drastic.
Alrighty. Give me 1 second. And then let's see, we have Keisha saying Beyond looks good. So I was watching this one a couple weeks ago, and I'm tempted to sell some puts on it.
Yeah, me too. It actually is. That would be a really good way to go, and it's kind of buy support. There's that big long-term and psychological level at $100 even. And the last time we hit $100, we hit that and then moved all the way up to 150 or 155 over the next few weeks. So I don't know. It's probably not going to do that again, but I think it could definitely have some good potential here off this support. And I think selling puts is an awesome way to go here, Mike. Anywhere around this $100 level, I think is going to be great for Beyond.
There we go. Alrighty. And then we have Max saying, wow, Lucid. LCID, let's take a look at them. I know they were looking really good last week, and looks like the upwards momentum is going to continue into this.
Yeah, it is. Look at that. That's awesome to see. It's actually getting really, really close to that $23.50 high of Friday. Really watch this one, guys. I think this one could really run if it breaks. I love it. It's already up 2%, which is awesome. And man, that recovery was so drastic with this one. Look at this daily chart. You can start to really see how much upward momentum this one's had ever since it bounced off that 16 support. It's just pretty much went straight to the upside, and I could see it continuing. These stocks, they always like to move pretty slow, and then they like to pop out of nowhere. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with Lucid. If you kind of, it's really easy to miss the boat on stocks if you don't buy them around supports. And we're kind of seeing that right now. We hit off that support and just had a really drastic move back up. And Lucid's a pretty good company too. Like they've had some pretty good talks, and I know they had some good news with their car come out where they're going to have like a 500-mile battery range or something, which is great.
Awesome to hear it. Alrighty, so looking at VXX intraday, it looks like they're up 10% on the day. It's breaking its high of day right now. It's looking pretty good. At the same time, we have the market coming down. We have Facebook continuing to sell off. Amazon's breaking. Google's breaking. Citigroup's breaking. Netflix is breaking. Everything's falling, Tom.
I know, Mike. You actually just reminded me. I checked the VIX. I checked my UVXY shares, man. I'm averaging at 2180 from last week. This thing's on fire. I can't believe this thing keeps going up like this as much as it is. And, hey, I'm glad it's finally happening because, we saw a lot of downwards movement last week, but the way the market kind of recovered up at open every day kind of made VXX and UVXY, you could always tell, like right at open, these stocks ended up going to the downside, even though the market was going down. So it was kind of a weird situation, but I'm glad to see him popping up this week. It shows that those hedge plays can work. And, congratulations to everyone. VXX was down there around $25, $26 for a long time. And just congrats to everybody who bought the hedge. It was an awesome pickup.
Here we go. So I'm looking at a couple different things, and it looks like it looks like this is not going to be an easygoing market. Like I was saying a couple minutes ago, we are seeing a lot of stocks break their low of day. Even the SPY is looking rough, and like Tom, it really has been a long time since we've seen the market itself move like it is. Like honestly, like the last major event that I remember is, of course, the crash back in February and March of 2020. And, I know we had a couple of dips along the way, like you can say back in September of 2020. But, for the most part, it has been a while since we've seen some movement like this.
Yeah, it has. Look here on my daily chart. We haven't really seen any big movement like this. I would say this is the biggest. This is about the same move as back in February. But I'm honestly I'm not saying it's going to be like a COVID crash, but I'd like to see a decent little pullback. Let's see what the percentage is right now from the all-time high. So let's just say all-time high is right around 45, 49 down to where we are now. Let's see. It looks like a pretty nice, somewhere right around like 4.5% drop from the highs. So that's pretty big. But, normally if we see a big drop in the market, we see it pull back quite a bit. Now, I'm looking for a big catalyst here, Mike. I don't know about you, but the last time was COVID. Obviously, that was a big crash. Before COVID, there was that China news that kind of crashed the market whenever we had all that tariff stuff going on a long time ago. And I don't know what's going to be going on this time, if it's going to be the Delta variant, inflation, or what, but I feel like we might see a bigger pullback than what we saw in February. And if it is the size of like a February pullback, it should stop pretty soon, and we should start to go back up, maybe off the 100 SMA or off this 43.50 bottom. But I don't know, Mike. I'm really looking for a bigger move here to the downside. And I'm not trying to, hate on the market here or anything, but just looking at the way everything's moving with Apple and Microsoft at like all-time highs and stuff, I could just see the sell-off continuing for a little while. And I don't know like where you're targeting exactly, Mike, but with the SPY, I mean, I'd love to see SPY come down towards maybe 420. I know that might be a little bit like it is pretty far away. Like it's going to be pretty hard to get there, but I feel like if Apple and Microsoft and these stocks keep going down, I could definitely have a good shot to get there.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting like a full-on market crash / meltdown / end of the world type event, but I definitely can see a continued drawdown. I'm kind of targeting like that 410 to 420 area, pretty much where you are. Just one thing to keep in mind is, I know that the whole China situation, especially like with Evergrande and their defaults and all that, plus a combination of the Delta variant, plus a combination of inflation news, plus a combination of the market being up so much, plus a combination of investors starting to de-risk themselves, and everything else, like I just feel like there are multiple reasons why we're seeing this movement, but at the same time, like I'm not like, expecting I'm not expecting the market to fall back down to like 320 or anything like that. But either way, I think that there will be a lot of opportunity from this, no matter what happens. Selling puts on stocks that you like is a great strategy, and that would be a great time to deploy that now. Also, of course, playing puts to the downside on some of these stocks that are pretty overbought can also be a great strategy. So either way, I'm just glad to see some movement. Unfortunately, it is to the downside, but at the same time, I'd way rather have this movement than some of that choppy movement we would have like a couple months ago where the market doesn't even move either way.
Oh man, me too. I'm so glad to finally get like some good solid movement one way or the other. It's really making for some fun trading over the past few weeks. It's finally been getting to a good way, and hopefully the trend continues so we can just keep going at it. But I'm with you, hopefully selling puts is hopefully you guys are starting to really learn to sell puts, because selling puts can be a really good way to go. And I knew personally myself, it took me a little while to learn them, but once you learn them, it's an awesome way to kind of play the market, and it's pretty safe. But I'm looking at the SPY here today again, Mike, and I'm looking for another move back down. It looks like we're actually testing this 1,000 or 100 SMA here, and I don't know. It looks like we might get another move back through that to the downside and maybe target like 434 even if that does happen today. But man, I really hope to see it keep going down, because I want to see that type of sell-off continue. And of course, I'm a little biased because I love my UVXY shares.
All right. And then Laz said, check out VXX, just as nice as UVXY, if not nicer. So yeah, VXX is definitely more liquid, and it's definitely my go-to. UVXY is a leveraged ETF. So basically when the VXX, like we can see VXX is up 10%, but UVXY is up 15%. So normally UVXY will rise more than VXX, but at the same time, VXX is definitely more liquid, and the options are relatively cheaper on VXX because it moves less than UVXY. So either way, they're very similar and they're a great hedge play. But Tom, do you have any like last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
I'm really going to be eyeing up some of these pickups, possibly on stocks like CLOV. Possibly we're right around that $8 support. If we could hold that, it would be awesome. I'm going to be looking up Clover. I'm looking at CHPT, DraftKings even. I know DraftKings is having a little bit of some downwards movement today. They're down around 57. So if they start to keep falling, I'll definitely be eyeing them up as well. But man, I'm looking at a lot of these stocks possibly for selling puts or possibly for grabbing shares for the long term. as the market starts to go down. So that's going to be the way I'm kind of looking at stuff right now. And I do have my shares of UVXY like we talked about. So I am hedged in the market a little bit. So that's working out good for me. But overall, it just seems like I would play most stocks to the downside. You're seeing some recoveries out of like Microsoft today, but now the recovery is it's honestly all went away, and it looks like these stocks are turning red again. So maybe look for another sell-off in the middle of the day today. I could definitely see it happening, and just look for Microsoft to possibly break their low of day, like right around 295 even.
Good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. The market is going crazy. I know that, there's a lot going on. So thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate you. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day.